Greetings, everyone. How's it going? This is Musa with Social Dance Mastery. Thanks for tuning in. This is actually a recording of our elemental movement workshop, but you can still participate via email. I'm so excited to hear your feedback, your questions, any comments that you have. In this elemental movement workshop, we're going to go over one of the exercises from my elemental movement mini course. And in this exercise actually is all about perceiving elemental movement. And how we're going to do this is I'm going to play a clip of some social dancers dancing a song, not the whole song, just a clip of them dancing just to get gist of their vibe. Then we're going to play that clip towards the end of the workshop. I'm going to give you a little bit of information in between, and we're going to see if your perspective has shifted on how you see these dancers dancing in this video clip. And the whole purpose of this is to really transform the way we experience social dancing and opening up our minds to new tools and resources on how to navigate partner dynamics. So, how we're going to do this is I'm going to introduce the four movement archetypes: fire, water, air, and earth. I'm going to give some descriptions about them. And then, after, towards the end of the workshop, I'm going to play that same clip and we're going to see if we've shifted at any point in how we see these dancers. I'll also ask you about what you think the elemental archetype of these dancers are as well. So this is one of the exercises from the elemental movement mini course. Also, if you want a discount on this mini course, which starts this week, you can purchase my book, Walking with Water, on Amazon. It's now available. And this book dives deeper into the foundation of all these concepts, which is called the elemental movement model. The elemental movement model is the basis for a lot of what I'm going to be talking about today. So I'm so excited to share this information with you. And of course, in January, we have a larger social dance mastery course as well. So stay tuned, keep in touch with the links, and we're going to start with the first clip that we're going to bring back at the end of this workshop. Check it out, and here we go. All right, perfect. So now we're going to get back into this workshop with some information about elemental movement. What is elemental movement, right? Well, elemental movement, I see it as a lens. It's a way to perceive the social dance environment. And by the social dance environment, I mean when we go out dancing, when we go to dance socials, specifically for social dancers who like to dance Afro-Latin dances such as salsa, merengue, bachata, kizomba, a lot of these dances that require a lot of partner dynamics. This concept of elemental movement is very useful because it provides us with a new lens, a new framework in which to see partner dynamics. And we can start to unveil the mechanics behind connection on the dance floor. This empowers us. So let's first talk about what this comes from. Me as a movement coach, I use this because it really helps me to track the progress of the movement journey of a specific dancer. And I like to say movement journey because this is sort of how we grow as dancers from different skill levels into the next. And we can say that as a beginner, moving into the intermediate, moving into the advanced, and then moving into more of the professional. This journey is mapped out along what I call the elemental movement model. And it's a model that has a lot of purposes for different kinds of people. But I use the elemental movement model to properly assess movement, which is very important as a movement coach. I have to know and I have to be able to assess the specific levels of movement accurately. And what I've noticed is a lot of these concepts can also help dancers with common issues that are coming up when they go social dancing. And this is what I help a lot of the dancers that I work with. I help them with some issues that really come up when we don't really understand how the dynamics works and what we can do, what's our part, and how to shift and adapt to different dynamics. For example, attracting the wrong partners, navigating partner dynamics, improving compatibility. A lot of these concepts, there are actually tools and resources in order to shift a lot of these issues that are commonly going on. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of describe each of these four elements just broadly, and then we're going to go deeper into them so that we can see specifically their characteristics, their traits, so that we can start to identify them within movement. And that's the main thing that we're working on is translating the characteristics of the element into characteristics of movement and being able to perceive this. So a lot of it starts just with these elements, just the raw element itself and how it's expressed and how we can see that through movement. So for example, with fire, we have direct, expressive, spontaneous, right? And then you can see that contrasting with water, which is flowing, intuitive, receptive. And then that moving into air, which is light, angular, technical. Moving into earth, which is grounded, structured, rooted. So these are just the raw elemental characteristics. And you can see, you can almost visualize how these descriptions can be translated into movement. It's really not that hard to conceive that, right? For example, let's focus on water. Water being flowing, you can see movement that flows, movement that's intuitive, that could be, or movement that's receptive. I can see movement that's receptive, movement that receives the tension from another partner, right? That could be receptive movement. So let's move to air. Movement that is light. When I see light movements, I can see people spinning a lot. Movement that is technical. Technical, I can see dancers who really have a lot of detail in their turn patterns. I can see that as technical, or they're really well versed in choreography and very detailed combinations and sets of movement, right? That could be technical. So, this is how you can sort of take the description of the raw element and start to link that into a certain quality of movement, right? So let's first a good way that I like to do this is by connecting an element to a genre of dance. And that really helps me to visualize and helps me to connect to the visceral feeling of that element when you connect it to a dance, right? So starting with the fire element. The fire element, I can connect that to mambo. Mambo's are very fast, high pace, a lot of horns, drumming. The dancers are really expressive, flinging themselves, exploding with movements. So I can see that fire really resonates with the dance of mambo, right? So now let's take it to water. When I come to water, I think about bachata and zouk, where the dancers, they are closer together. Usually the pace is much slower. They're feeling each other, they're feeling the music. It's more sentimental, it's more sensual, right? So I would say zouk and bachata are really connected to the water element. Okay, let's move to the next one. The air element. The air element I would connect to ballroom dancing. Why? Because how technical it has to be, really flicking the hands and the fingers in a specific angle to make it look a certain way, and all of the hours and hours of practicing combinations and sets that will be constructed into choreography. All of these detailed precision movements and patterns, that seems like the air element, right? So I connect ballroom dancing to the air element. Then the last one, the earth element. The earth element can be connected to rumba. Why? Because rumba is a music and dance from the country, from the roots. A lot of root instruments, drums, claves, people dancing close to the earth, in the pueblo, in the village. And these dances are traditional, they mean something, they have a legacy, they have a substance to them. So I would connect that to the element of earth. So you see how we can go to each of these elements and we can see how these elements are reflecting specific characteristics of movement, right? And then the question is, when we start to see these elements interact together, then we can start to sense certain kinds of dynamics. So the main dynamics that we cover in the elemental movement mini course are the compatible dynamic, the incompatible dynamic, and the neutral dynamic, right? So the video that I sent you, that I showed you in the beginning of this workshop, we would want to see which dynamic does this video clip of these two people dancing, which dynamic does it most closely resemble? Is it more of a neutral dynamic where no energy is gained, no energy is lost? Or is it more of a incompatible dynamic where they seems like they might be struggling with each other? It seems like they their turns aren't quite connected. They seem to be frustrating each other. Is it an incompatible connection, or is it a compatible connection? Everything just seems to be flowing. They're in sync. They're in tune with each other, right? So we can see how these three types of compatibilities, incompatible, compatible, and neutral, these are all created through the dynamics of the intertwining between these different elements. And we'll start to see that later on. So now, before we get into it, let's dive deeper into some of these elements. For example, fire. Now, each element will have something that you can look for to really identify, to make sure, is this the element that is presenting itself, right? And I break this down into four main things: the posture and the energy of a dancer, right? A fire posture would be something that's upright, expansive, magnetic. Fire dancers often lean into their steps, right? You looking at the posture of a dancer really tells you a lot. Then you can look at the rhythm and dynamics. The rhythm and dynamics of a fire dancer: bold, sharp movements, right? Clear directional changes. The steps often follow faster tempos and exhibit a sense of urgency and intensity. That's how you can tell a fire dancer. Some of the body language would be eye contact, expressive gestures, engaging. Fire dancers move and engage the whole body using dynamic expressions. And the last one is qualities to watch for. You can watch for explosive transitions, impulsive steps. These are all things that you can identify from a fire dancer, right? Let's move to the water dancer. The posture and energy of a water dancer would be relaxed, fluid posture, grounded yet flowing quality, moving with softness that emanates from their center, right? The body language of a water dancer would be gentle gestures, circular arm movements, and intuitive expressions, mirroring their partner's energy, right? You can already sense the the very stark contrast between the fire dancer and the water dancer, right? Because these elements are considered to be opposing elements. So, meaning that they have different and opposing values within each one of these characteristics to look out for. They're going to have opposing posture and energy. They're going to have opposing body language, opposing rhythm and dynamics, and other things will seem to sort of be opposite each other, right? So let's go over to the air element. The air's posture and energy is light and upright posture with a sense of buoyancy and agility. So you can see that posture in the air dancers. Their body language is precise arm and leg movements, deliberate angles, flourishes. The rhythm and dynamics are quick, intricate transitions with sharp angular movements, right? And some of the qualities to watch are hesitation before execution, strategic adjustments, and subtle movements, subtle detailed movements, right? So then the last one is the earth element, and the posture of the earth would be grounded in steady posture with a strong connection to the floor. A lot of the earth dancers have a low center of gravity. The earth dancers, they are rooted steps. They have rooted steps, minimal extraneous movement. They really keep their movements contained. And the rhythm and dynamics of the earth is deliberate, predictable movements that align closely with the rhythm of the music. You can tell a lot of earth dancers who stay with the pace and the tempo of a song. And the qualities to watch for in an earth dancer are controlled transitions, repetitive patterns, and an emphasis on maintaining ground. So a lot of earth dancers you can see might have a wide gait and they might maintain space and hold space a lot. So these are all of the different elements that we can experience within a social dance environment. And so now it's your turn. I'm going to play that video that we played before. And I want you to watch this video now. And there's a couple things that I want you to see if you can identify. One of the first things I want you to see if you can identify what type of dynamic this partnership is. Is it a compatible, incompatible, or neutral dynamic? That's one of the first distinguishes. Now, the next one is what element do you think each dancer is? Right? So we're going to see the type of dynamic. Is it incompatible, compatible, or neutral? And then we're also going to see if we can figure out of these four elements, which one do you think each dancer is? So I'm really curious about your feedback about this. I really want to hear what you have to say, your answers. So make sure you let me know what you think in the chat or below in the comments. And I really want to hear what you have to say, what you think the dynamic is, as well as what you think the elements are for for each one. And I'm going to let you know my conclusion of that as well and give you that in response. So I'm going to play this last clip and we'll get into the final part of this workshop. All right, everybody. So thanks for checking that video out again. And I want to know those things I want to know if your perspective has shifted now that you've seen this video again. Let me know via email. Let me know, participate with this video. This is how you're going to get the most out of this. I want to hear your feedback. And thank you again for tuning in. Remember, of course, that we have the mini course, the Elemental Movement mini course. If you're interested in going deeper into these concepts and really experimenting with a lot more of these exercises and activities that really helps social dancers transform their experience on the dance floor, then check out and sign up for the mini course that's happening December 7th. Remember that you do get a discount on this mini course if you are getting some of my books, as well as taking the movement quizzes that I have. I'll also put links to the movement quizzes so you can see which one is your elemental archetype. So thank you again for attending, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for checking out the video. And again, to interact with this video and to participate, send me what you think about this dance. What is the compatibility? Is it incompatible, compatible, or neutral? And tell me which dancers embody which elements. And then I will respond to you in those emails and in those comments. So thanks again for participating with this elemental movement workshop.